Welcome to the Whiskey Congress. Honest, open talk dedicated to speaking the truth to those who are open to hearing it. Black, white, right, left. Most importantly, honest, bold, and fueled by good whiskey. In Whiskey Veritas, we are Whiskey Congress. Join the evolution.
Welcome once again to Whiskey Congress. It's good to be back in the studio with you, man.
Good to see you.
We have a new whiskey. We're fancily drinking out of snifters. I feel special. I don't know about you. Anyway, the whiskey is 1712 bourbon out of North Carolina. It's something when I was on that project down there that I grabbed because I think it's going to be hard to find. I don't know anything good. I knew nothing about them, good or bad. I just thought, it's interesting.
You know what? It's one of those. It's a regional. So I think, it'll be hard to find, and kind of like Cleveland whiskey here.
Right. You can find it elsewhere,
right.
But
you can find it in Michigan and Indiana, places like that. But there's a lot of people who listen to us who probably won't be able to find Cleveland whiskey in their local distillery or in their local liquor store. And this is the 1712 out of North Carolina is one of those.
Right.
For that area.
So it was right around $40-$45. So just getting the price point out there for people. 86 proof. It's pretty good actually. I kind of like it. I scored it at a 90.
Okay.
Good flavor. A lot of vanilla, and I really like vanilla as a flavor. It doesn't have a lot of complexity of flavor, but it's smooth. It's not the 80 proof that Steve will disapprove of on general principle. I don't know. I scored it at a 90. Where'd you have it?
I ended up giving it an 88.
Okay.
It was, and you know what? For me, the taste, it tastes like it hasn't been in the barrel long.
And it hasn't.
And I think it's only been in the barrel for
21 months or something. It says it on the bottle.
Months, so not a full 2 years. And there's nothing wrong with that per se. It's not my particular taste. I like, because it's only been in the barrel for 21 months, you just don't get as much of the woody flavor.
True.
And this,
but it's still smooth.
It is smooth, right? It's not abrasive. It's not too much of an alcohol punch. But there's not a ton of flavor complexity in there, like you said.
I agree.
There is some vanilla.
Again, I love that flavor. So probably I'm scoring it higher than the average person would, just because I love the flavor of.
Yeah, no, which is fine. I mean, but to me, there's not a lot that stands out. When it crosses your palate, it doesn't like light up a number of different.
Rethinking, I did give it the cross the 90 barrier. Maybe I should have gone 89, but it's still, I think it's a solid whiskey. It will not go to waste.
No, it's definitely not. I mean, I think it's a good. You don't want to burn through your good stuff. This is a good whiskey to drink on a Tuesday night after a long day.
I typically don't pay $40 a bottle for that. You know what I normally pay, so
right. And I definitely wouldn't. When you said $40,
I saw your eyes kind of go. Whoa, yeah, no, it was not a value,
and
but
it's not
a bad whiskey.
No, it's not terrible.
It's a good whiskey. It's just not a great whiskey.
Right, and I would probably bring the price point down if I were them. But I mean, I think maybe we're paying for the packaging,
novelty,
and the presentation, things like that,
and for the regional pride, right? I mean, all so many places now are making bourbon style whiskeys, and that's great. I love the fact that beer in America has changed a ton over the course of the last 20 years, and I'd say the same about wine. And now I'm glad whiskey is doing the same thing. So I'm going to say give them a thumbs up. I'm not going to make a special trip down to North Carolina to buy more.
Right. It's flavor. I'm still trying to pick up on the flavor notes, and it's hard. There's nothing that's really standing out that I can call out. So I guess it's a poor review on my end for the specific flavor notes, but it's not bad though.
Right.
I mean,
okay.
I could drink it, and
so you're not ordering the bottle removed from the studio, so we got to go for us.
We've had a couple of those.
Never a whiskey.
Yeah,
beer.
No, remember that one from
that
Florida?
one from Florida. Yes. That was fucking awful. That was like a 2-year-old too. I think I finally killed that bottle. I think I made a Manhattan with it and just.
Why?
I powered through. I'm a team player.
You should have used it to I don't know, kill
the weed, to kill the weeds I got to deal with in the front of my house.
Get the deer drunk that are trying to eat your garden.
All right, man. So
yeah, a quick run through of what's coming up on the rest of the show. We've done our whiskey. We're going to talk Omarosa and Trump and apparently the Young Turks for some reason.
Yes, we will. Definitely for them.
Alex Jones and his
being
whole
deplatformed.
Right. That's weird how it's written there.
That's why I bailed you out.
Aretha Franklin and, her passing. Also the Fox News faux pas. And Trump versus the press. The Catholic Church. California and Arizona firefighters. There's an interesting thing going on with them. We'll talk Maryland football, and Jim is going to attack a good thing in the NFL.
That's not fair, but okay.
It's not about fair, Jim. That's life. Talk to our president.
All right, fair.
And
Jim is being treated very unfairly.
So that's what we have coming up. So we did our whiskey review. We'll take a momentary pause, and then we will jump right back into it.
Sounds good. Looking forward to it. All right, so whiskey review in the books. We're drinking a Rheingeist. We should have brought that up too.
Yeah, we are. That's
Cincinnati beer. Very good. Well done.
That's my choice. I just wanted to do something a little different. I'm not sure. Not even sure why. I went to go grab the Miller Lite per usual. At Dave and Philly's disgust.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm a beer snob, but I've been trying to lose weight, and I recently rewatched the video that told me I need to lose weight, and I can say, okay, I mean, I've still got a ways to go, but I could definitely tell there's a change.
I can tell.
I looked hideous in that video.
No, you're moving better, and you look like you feel better overall. So I mean, and you can tell that.
And I don't have a big roll around my gut. Horrible.
Trust me, I understand. I've been there.
All right, so Omarosa, your girl, is
Pause.
not okay.
Wait, no.
Why is she your girl?
She's not.
I know. That's why I said it.
I know.
So anyway, so if you don't know, she's basically been leaking a story after story. She has said that there is an audio recording of Trump dropping multiple racial slurs.
Well, hold on. Let's clear that up. When she was in the White House,
right?
A story broke within the White House amongst the staff that there may be a recording of Trump saying the word nigger from The Apprentice or Celebrity Apprentice or something along those lines. Someone from The Apprentice leaked this to someone on the White House staff. White House staff tried to confirm it. No one knows if it's true or not, but there was a conversation which Omarosa recorded that confirmed that people on the staff had a meeting about it. Someone on the staff basically admitted that someone from Celebrity Apprentice told them the tape is real, that he said it. That same person said that, Trump was embarrassed by it and they have to figure out how to spin it, or can they sit on it and keep it quiet? Omarosa said this. She said she had a tape confirming that White House staff knew about it. And then all those staff members said, nope, meeting never happened. She drops the tape, the recording of their conversation, and then they all try to backpedal it and say, well,
by never happened, we
mean it did, and we were just trying to appease her, and we didn't know she was being serious. We didn't know we were being recorded, and just the whole thing, and it looks bad for the White House staff, and it seems, and then, we fast forward, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, she gives a pretty terrible denial of what happens here.
And that's a woman who has never blinked in the face of flat out telling you, bullshit. She's never been shy about lying.
Right. She will skip right around.
He knew exactly what he meant when he wrote Kavifi. I'm like, fuck you. No, he didn't.
I won't necessarily call her a liar, but she will definitely proudly walk right around the truth and not look back at all. And in this one, they asked her, can you guarantee there's no tape of him saying the N-word? And she goes to I can't guarantee anything, and I can't be in every room every day all the time. But what I can say is that the black unemployment rate is the lowest that it's ever been, so therefore Donald Trump can't be racist.
Here's a talking point, right?
Right. I mean, and it's just it's a spin tactic, and what it tells me is that my opinion, strictly my opinion, chances are he probably said it. It probably got caught on a hot mic. Somebody's sitting on it. But the reality is even if they release it, it doesn't hurt him.
He said, I can walk up and grab women by the pussy and they let me do it.
He said he could
before the election.
Right. He said before the election, he said he could walk out into a street and shoot somebody and not lose a vote. And I think he gained voters at that point.
I mean, first of all, the notion that a 70-something New York City elitist who had a history of pushing poor people out of buildings so he could flip them and make himself money, the idea that he wouldn't ever drop a racial epithet is crazy.
It really is. And so, I mean, this whole thing, I think it's the only value in it, if you're a person that's looking to get Trump out of the White House.
This doesn't do it.
It doesn't get him out, and you're not going to get him out by impeachment. That whole idea really needs to go to the wayside, right? He would have had to done something just so out of this world illegal, right? I mean to the point where you would have to prove that he laundered money for Russian mobsters that you know what I mean?
Which I wouldn't rule out.
Right, but I mean, you're going to have to prove that, and I don't know if you have the time or the money to do it, but my point is, you're not going to get him out by impeachment. You are going to have to get him out by mobilizing people to vote who didn't vote last time. And that's going to be millennials, and that's going to be black people, right? A lot of black people sat at home and said, you know what? I don't have an Obama. Hillary sucks. And Trump sucks, so I'm staying home. You had a number of millennials who stamped their feet and whined and complained and bitched and moaned and want Bernie Sanders, but a lot of them didn't come out and vote.
Right.
And a lot of them, and some of them, I won't fully say that they whined and didn't vote. There were some who didn't whine or complain, but they also didn't vote. Right. And this is something where you can look at this. You can look at the numbers, past data numbers, and see the youngest generation that is of legal voting age. In every generation, they have poor numbers, right? Like they have poor numbers when it comes to showing up to the voting booth. They don't, whether it's millennials now or Generation X, 20 years ago or whatever the name of the generation is before, as when they're in that 18 to 25 to 30-year-old range, people don't mobilize, they don't vote, they don't take advantage, or they don't fulfill their civic duty in the numbers that we need them to. So if you can mobilize that group and you can mobilize the black people that felt disenfranchised, and this is the thing that does it, then maybe that's a positive that comes out of this.
So the reason the Young Turks are on the talking points is that Trump tweeted out something to the effect of Omarosa was never a good person. It was good job by General Kelly for firing her. That
called her
dog.
A dog.
Now, do you consider the dog remark to be racially motivated? Because I don't. I think it's trying to insult a woman's looks, because I think Trump loves insulting women's looks. And the reason the Young Turks are on there is because they were accusing Trump of that being a racially insensitive thing, and then Cenk Younger says, "Look, Omarosa's a snake." I'm like, you, sir, have no sense of irony,
right?
because look, I'm not a fan of Omarosa. I thought when Robin Roberts did the "Bye Felicia," I thought that was appropriate and hilarious when she got kicked out of the White House.
Oh yeah,
and I know. I don't know a whole lot about her, to be honest with you. I never watched a Celebrity Apprentice. The interesting thing to me, and I know this is a really stupid, weird thing to say, but the fact that Penn Jillette came out and said, yeah, that's real. Some of the things he said made me uncomfortable. And Penn Jillette has no dog in this race. And frankly, as weird as a guy as he is, he's generally honest.
So you kind of skip past something kind of quickly here.
All right.
The issue with Donald Trump calling Omarosa a dog is the dehumanizing aspect. Right. And throughout, listen, African Americans, blacks, Africans, we are constantly dehumanized, and that idea of calling us dogs and monkeys and niggers and porch monkeys and all that stuff, the whole idea of dehumanizing us makes it easier to treat us less appropriately.
I agree.
Right? I mean, and so whether he understands what he's doing or not, you're still talking about the president of the United States.
Right.
And you're still talking about a black female who's a public figure, and the ease of which he's able to do this, the ease of which he's able to, use this type of language for a black woman, and listen, he's got a track record of being shitty towards anyone who says anything against him.
Yes.
We know this, right? And
he called Rosie O'Donnell a pig.
Right. So his issue, I think a lot of it is misogyny and a lot of it is his issues with women, but it feels like he takes it just a step further with Omarosa, and whether he does or doesn't, the problem is, and whether it's racially motivated by him or not, the idea is he's still dehumanizing her. And we've seen it, listen, you go back and you look at any sort of atrocity, right, where there was genocide, there were people who were murdered, and it all starts with treating them and speaking to them as if they were less than human.
Yes.
And this is the sort of thing, now listen, people will, there are, your far left, your progressive far left, talking heads and the kids with the beanies and, crying at home in their basements will tell you that this is the beginning of genocide, right? Like if you can call Omarosa a dog, then he can do this and he can do that. And the next thing you know, they're just going to start killing black people in the streets. And they're already doing it because of the police, right? Like that's the sort of dramatic interpretation that you can get for certain people on the left. His rhetoric is dangerous. There's no doubt about it. But I think with him, it's his intentions. It's not as complex and sinister as people will make it out to be. I think you're talking about someone who's petty. You're talking about someone who is insecure, and he is vindictive, and he wants to, if you go against him, he wants to bury you, and so he'll say what the first thing that pops in his head, right? He's like a pissed off fifth grader, right? He's just going to say whatever he can say to hurt your feelings or whatever, and then afterwards, someone will have to pull him aside and say, "Listen, this is what you're doing. You're the president. You can't do that, right?" And
do you think someone's doing that? Because I don't. I don't.
Yeah,
think anyone
Kelly is doing it now. How much is he? How much is he processing it?
It's not working,
right? And that's the person that we're dealing with.
Yes.
So I think, is what he's saying racially motivated? Motivated, maybe not, but is there an impact there? Yes.
I agree. Okay. Completely agree. I think when he says that, he's just being, don't worry, he's just being a misogynist dick. He's not being a racist. However, it does carry racial undertones that others will say,
that can have an impact because there's groups of people out there who there are white supremacist groups out there, your alt-right, your Richard Spencers, your David Dukes, who will take that and they will shape it into, see, he's on our side. Right. He thinks we think, and therefore that justifies our way of thinking. So let's move forward with that.
And you were talking before about mobilizing groups. So there's also, in what I would call negative mobilization, when you get the guy who would normally say, I'm not going to vote because they're all against me, and now gets up
this guy's on my side.
This guy's on my side.
I'm going to vote for him.
Yep. And all right, when it comes to getting a message out there, few people are better at getting crazy out there than my buddy Alex Jones. And yes, Steve, I'm going to do the imitation. You can just, I wish this was on video because you can see he's like, here it comes, here it comes. But Alex Jones got kicked off a couple social media platforms, and I've heard lots of arguments back and forth about whether that is censorship or denying someone a public utility or a private company exercising their right and their terms and conditions. Where do you come out on that?
It's ugly. Because there's some legal precedent to look at Facebook and Twitter and YouTube as public utilities. Right?
Okay, I didn't know that.
There's some that you can twist it enough, and you don't have to do a lot of twisting from a legal standpoint to say these could be considered public utilities because of the way they're used, because of access to them, and things.
They're essentially monopolies, right? Twitter and Facebook, in terms of social media, are a huge
considering
chunk.
What they're used for, things like that. There's a decent argument out there for it. And then, for those who push for, private corporations being able to, control their particular product, they're going to fight the other direction and say, listen, they may be like public utilities, but bottom line is they're not. They're owned by private companies and private entities, so on and so forth.
Facebook is publicly traded. I think Twitter might be as well.
Okay, but
they're owned. They have a CEO and whatever.
Yes.
But okay. Anyway.
Right.
Sorry, I'm just trying to say that don't invest in them if you don't. All right, I'll stop.
Right. We can parse that. I don't know if that's the direction the conversation should go. I mean, with Alex Jones in particular, though, where I come out on it is I don't like it. Okay,
you don't like him getting kicked.
I don't like
him getting kicked off.
I don't like the idea of him being kicked off the platform. Yeah, he talks a lot of crazy. Yes, people believe he flat out lies. The whole thing with Sandy Hook, what he put those parents through, but those parents, they have, they can sue him, right? And they are suing him.
Yes.
And what he said is out there, right? I mean, in their case is that's pretty much a home run, right? I mean, because you're going to say, oh, it was all fake and blah, 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 blah. And it's just like, all right, well, here's my dead kid in a casket, right? Here are the bullet holes. And that's dramatic interpretation, but that's the reality of the situation, right? So he's going to lose that in dramatic fashion. Right, so if you let the market actually do what it's supposed to do, it'll regulate itself. We actually didn't need them, because what'll happen is he'll get sued. He's being sued. He'll lose. Right, he'll lose these cases. He'll get some very hefty punitive damages that he's not going to be able to afford. Alex Jones makes decent money. I'm sure he's worth a few $1 million, but whatever.
I'll bet he's worth tens of millions.
He's probably not worth tens of millions. I mean, maybe he's worth $10 million, maybe.
Right.
But whatever he gets hit with this whole Sandy Hook thing, once it's said and done, I promise.
He could easily get.
I promise
clobbered.
they can wipe him out. He'll have to file for bankruptcy, and the question is, how they attack his assets. That could directly impact his ability to do his show. And then also, are his sponsors going to stick with him? The people who give him money and things so those are sort of things. And then the other part are the people who believed this whole thing with Sandy Hook. You have to think at some point there's a percentage of those who'll be like, wait, he was really full of shit. They'll think it was a whole, and some of them will take it even further and say, wow, this conspiracy goes deeper than I thought it did. But the point being is that that's something that could lessen his voice on its own without him being completely removed from the platform. And the reason I have an issue with it is because what if there's a change in ownership of Twitter? Or what if the guy for Twitter completely flips and becomes a conservative, and then he starts pulling off liberal voices, right? He decides to silence...
Or starts saying, religion is going to be our primary thing, and only those who preach the word.
Right, so then he starts booting porn off of Twitter, right? Which I would
cannot have that.
Shit.
Yes.
or he, or comes after people like us on Twitter, right? I mean, whatever it might be, this leads you down a road of the companies being able to pick and choose who they want on their platform. And you can say, well, he didn't meet our terms and conditions, but your terms and conditions are bullshit because people rant and rave and say, stupid shit all the time.
People get suspended on Twitter constantly. And I have no problem with Twitter having a penalty box.
I don't have a problem with them having a penalty box. But
have you ever gotten kicked off? I have not. I don't think I've ever gotten our show kicked off.
Never been kicked off. Never been suspended.
I've only gotten us blocked once. I got us blocked by Anthony Cumia.
Which is fine.
I stand by.
You got to, and we've talked about it, but you actually, I think you were close with some other things. You went back and forth because once you start, because you go into the name calling stuff, and those are areas where these places will, like if somebody reports it, then they have a leg to stand on to suspend us, right?
Okay. Well, I don't think I've done it on Whiskey Congress, but
right. No, I mean back with the old
show.
Handle.
But so I agree with you in a lot of fundamental ways. I think from a legal standpoint, I think both Facebook and Twitter have the legal right to do it. I think it's a bad practice for those reasons, and this is I think a situation where the laws have not caught up to the world. Like
I fully agree.
Right now, Facebook and Twitter are hugely important. I mean, we just got done talking about the President of the United States insulting a reality show contestant, and that's news because it is, and that's the world we're in, and the laws have not caught up to that. And frankly, and let me repeat, Steve 201. All these people that we rely on to create laws and write laws that make sense, a lot of them not that smart.
Really, they're really not.
And I mean,
they show us.
Who called the internet a series of tubes? Was that Alaska senator who went to jail? Ted Stevens?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, the internet's a series of, and when Mark Zuckerberg was on Capitol Hill and getting questioned by Congress, it exposed how little these fucking people know.
Right.
I mean, they're asking questions that he said they're dumbfounded. Say what you want about Zuckerberg. I've admitted that I'm a fan, but say what you want about him. He's a smart guy. He might be a dick. He might have done some other stuff that people don't care for. He's smart.
Listen, he knows at this point he has grown into a certain level of intelligence about Facebook and about the internet and about algorithms and how all that shit works between him and his team. And people want to say, well, I mean, he does that, and these senators have all this other important stuff to do, but it did. Like, I think you're right. You hit a nail on the head when you say how detached they are from the world in which they live in. And people say, well, they're really busy and they don't have time for all this.
Bullshit.
But okay, maybe they are, but you're relying on them to make laws about things that they don't know or understand.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, and to me, that's problematic. You can say, oh, well, they've got aides and assistants for all that. Okay, then the aide or the assistant needs to be the one that's implementing this, and not the person who can't figure out how to get his Twitter's face space. How to work? Oh, Steven, how do I want to say these words? How do I put it on the interweb to make it sound right? Like, I mean, you have people. I couldn't imagine, I don't think Chuck Schumer works his own Twitter account. I don't think Nancy Pelosi knows how to get on Twitter. Yeah, I mean, I just some of these people who we are saying, all right, we need you to figure out how to regulate Facebook and Twitter. If they don't even know what it is, then that's, to me, that's very problematic.
I agree, and right. Yeah, they're making laws about stuff they don't understand, and that's a huge problem.
So to bring it back to Alex Jones, what's happening is, and it's clear that the social media platforms that are founded by your Silicon Valley, left-leaning, millennial to Xennial or whatever the age gap is between 25 and 40, they are more progressive. They don't necessarily agree with the Trumps and the far right conservatives of the world, and they're more easily offended, right? And so they look at some of this stuff. They look at and there's, oh, you're saying this, and it's not. I mean, you're not using the standard trigger words that we're used to. But you have a message, and the underlying message is something that I don't agree with. So you are hostile to me and to people who think like me, and therefore you have to go.
Right? And I'm standing on the fundamental principle of if this is the public square, can you stand in the public square and yell out crazy shit? In my opinion, you should be allowed to yell it out. Now, what's lacking in this world, and this goes for the Facebook and Twitter have become the public square that goes across the world. Let me finish, please, because it gets people the ability to do that and spread it out across the world. And what's lacking is the check and balance. If you're Alex Jones and you say Sandy Hook is a hoax, and all right, sorry, and there's nothing to come back and say you said this. And here's proof that you were either wrong or lying, or both. And therefore, you should be held accountable for your inaccurate, dishonest information. That has never been in place.
There is in place. It is called the fucking courtroom.
Well, the courtroom works way too slow, though, Steve.
Okay, there's a difference between it not existing and you not liking the way that it works. Okay. But it's still there. Right, and it's happening to Alex Jones now. Now it's a slow, painful death.
It's brutal,
but it's still there. So if you want to say we need to speed up things in the courtroom,
but we also need to get the truth out to the public. So if you say this on this platform, that platform should have the ability and right to have some kind of an independent check. Do you use Snopes?
Yeah. I mean, occasionally I'll use it to.
I use it fairly
check.
regularly.
I mean,
have you ever caught Snopes in a lie?
No,
I haven't either.
I have, and there's been a couple of things where I had to dig, to figure out
where they were coming from.
But they seem to be, and I use them, factcheck.org, and a couple others, and they all seem to be within range.
The reason I'm going with this is because so much of where we're at today is the president of the United States and the right wing calling any news they don't like fake news and getting away with it. And reality has become irrelevant. I mean, people say that we're in the post-truth, post-fact world, and they're not completely wrong.
Well,
and that's something we need to fix.
Here's a perfect example of it. They're taking us a little bit off, but you had a woman down in Florida. Her name's Kristen Howard, and she was running for a state seat, either a state congressional seat or a state Senate seat or something along those lines. And she said that she had a degree from Miami of Ohio.
Okay.
She's from somewhere down in Florida, Broward County, Fort Lauderdale area, and she had claimed she had a marketing degree from Miami of Ohio from like 1994, and someone said, "Hey, we checked the education clearinghouse and said you don't have a degree from there." So she says, "Bullshit, I do." Flies down to Ohio, or flies up to Ohio, goes to Oxford. Since I ordered my transcripts, and she produces a picture of her with her diploma, says, it's her and her mom sitting there with this encased diploma, looks legit, the whole thing. And so the paper who broke the story that she didn't have a degree said, no, our bad. Based off of you saying your transcripts are coming and this picture of you with the diploma that says Miami University on it, we're good to go. Right? Do a full retraction and say, our bad. Someone from the general counsel.
I don't know the story. So.
The general counsel from Miami of Ohio reaches out to the paper and says, "Hey, that diploma is not from our school. It says Miami University, Oxford, but couple things like we don't have we
they
don't
spelled Miami with a Y.
No. They said we don't have a major in marketing. Like if you majored in marketing, then." For whatever she said she majored in, she would have got a degree in
the School of Business or whatever.
In business science, I think it would have been it was a Bachelor of Science in retail, or that would have been what her at that point in time when she graduated, like the language would have been different for what her actual Bachelor of Science would have been. The other thing is that the dean of the school or whatever, whose name was on it again for that time frame, wasn't at Miami of Ohio yet. He didn't get there until 2 years later. Well, right? So essentially
that sounds like an honest mistake to me. I'm just going to go with
So essentially she faked or forged this diploma but the funny part about it is her campaign manager they said, well, they're saying that she doesn't have a degree from this school and her diploma's fake. And her campaign manager says, or they ask him, what do you have to say about this? He says, fake news. It's all fake news, right? And then it comes out like we've got proof that her diploma is fake. We've got proof that she didn't graduate from the school, even though she was. I think she was just a few credits short. But either way, she never graduated.
Oh, so she did go to the school.
She did go. She did go there, but she never got a degree. She never was awarded a diploma from that school, and apparently she didn't even know her actual major. Right, so I mean, there's
I know
questions.
people who went to the University of Miami at Ohio in Oxford, Ohio, and I think a lot of them graduated and still didn't know what they were majoring in.
That means you don't know the reputation of the school that well.
I do actually.
It's a pretty good school. I mean, I didn't go there, but I mean, I was on to bigger and better things. But I'm just saying, still solid.
It's no West Virginia University, is all I'm saying.
I mean, that's talking about the tallest midget.
But
that being said, so. To your point about people just throwing out this term fake news for anything that they don't like, and then there's no check on it. Like, so this woman, her campaign guy says fake news, and it's like, no, it's not fake. It's all real and it's all honest
and
it's
verifiable.
All verifiable. Now, hers was so egregious and so bad, and she's so low level that she was going to continue in the race, and then she took such a beating where they said there's no chance you're going to win, and she had to end up stepping out of the race.
Okay.
Now, the last thing on this, her explanation was, I never meant to deceive anyone. You presented a fake diploma. What do you mean? Your main intention was to deceive.
Just because I got my mom to pose with me next to a fake diploma that I manufactured an image of doesn't mean I was trying to be dishonest. Actually, it's pretty much a definition of dishonest.
I mean, but what's crazy...
You went to great efforts to be dishonest, and you fucked it up.
Right. Like, I mean, again, and this shows why you couldn't graduate from Miami of Ohio.
But you probably could have graduated from WVU and faked that. So
probably.
Fuck you. All right. Before we beat up on Trump and the press more, this week Aretha Franklin.
Come
fucking
on now.
A, dude.
You all right, B?
Yeah, I'm all right. She passed away at 76. She had pancreatic cancer, which is a brutal disease.
It's awful.
And
it's the worst. One of my,
I've had
I had
a few.
a close friend, mom passed away from it. And we watched it.
Former coworker of mine passed away from it.
It's awful.
See, it was one of the toughest things I've ever been shaken up with, because this woman was a woman I worked with in Southern Ohio, and I went back as a consultant to work for that company, and they had a memorial to her. So it was the first time I ever saw a memorial to somebody that I used to work with, and I was like, oh fuck, it was horrible. And she went from being perfectly fine to falling apart in about a 6-month period. It was just horrible.
It's very fast. It's a very fast, awful killer.
Yeah. And so Aretha Franklin was an icon. I mean, of that era of music, she is, Respect and You Make Me Feel Like a Natural Woman are like iconic songs. Her voice is amazing.
Someone said that, and this is, I forget who said it, but Aretha Franklin is one of those people who they were put on this planet to do a specific thing, and she fulfilled that to the nth degree. She was put on this planet to sing. She was put on this planet to bring joy, to bring hope. She was put on this planet to fill the purpose of making the world better through music. And she did it every time, she sang. And, a good friend of mine, his mom was in the airport, and she sees Aretha Franklin. And she goes up to her and says, "Hi, Aretha, me and my husband are big fans, would love to get a picture with you." So she says, okay, and they get a picture. And then she says, I hate to do this to you. I know you're in a rush, but is there any way I could get you to sing Happy Birthday? And I record it for my husband. Aretha Franklin in an airport, getting off a plane, on her way somewhere, says, sure. Didn't hesitate. She said, how some people...
She had a reputation for being a diva. Maybe it was unfair, but...
But you know how some people will say, yeah, sure, I'll do it. All right, fine. And then they smile for the camera and they do it. She said, sure. And she said, you ready? And sings a rendition of Happy Birthday to the husband, says his name, and says, hope you have a blessed, wonderful day.
That's awesome.
Gives the mom a hug and goes on her way. And that's just the person she was. Now, I don't know. I don't think. Did she have a reputation for being a diva? She was the diva.
She was the diva, and right, furthermore, she was such a powerful person in a time when the artists were badly treated by record labels, and I can totally see her being someone who was trying to get pushed around by the record label and said, "No, I'm that good. I'm not playing." And then what do companies do to get back at you? They label you a diva. Yeah. They label you a bad person to work with, whatever. And there's enough stories to counter that fact. And if you think about, she what you just said is the most anti-diva story ever.
Right. And you think about her song Respect, right? I mean, it's a song that was written by Otis Redding. And it was, she took it and she made that song iconic at a time where women are fighting for, and women to a degree are still fighting for a certain level of respect, right? Sure. You have the Me Too movement and the Time's Up movement. But she, at that time, she took that song written by a man, and now, first of all, there are probably a number of people who, when I just said that song was written by Otis Redding, were like, well, what the fuck is he talking about?
I honestly did not know that.
Right. I mean, and so she took that song and she made it hers, and she also made icon, it an anthem, right?
Yes,
an anthem
was the right word
for women. right? She made that song an anthem for women, and I think she lived by it. And if you're going to say that because she commanded respect when she walked in a room that made her a diva, then you call my daughter a diva all day.
Right?
You know?
There's that.
I mean, I'll take that.
And you'd be proud for her to be called that.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah.
Absolutely. And if you don't like it, come fight me. You know?
He's being literal, but he's also being figurative.
Right. I mean that in every sense of the word.
No, and that's fair. I think those labels get out there, you know, again, the business interests that control the time of the day, or the control things at the time, said, you know, shit, she's not going to let us just push her around, and maybe that makes the song,
right. I mean,
the song Respect that much more powerful.
Right. I mean,
better.
because if you think about it, you know, she's dealing with
black
Motown.
woman in the 60s.
Right. And she's dealing with Motown, which is dominated by men. You know, you got guys like Berry Gordy and Quincy Jones who were phenomenal in the world of music, but, you know, they had, you know, they were trailblazers, but they're men.
Yeah.
And they did stuff that men did back in the 60s and the 70s.
Doing what you want. I mean,
right.
I never watched Mad Men, but I know the culture.
Right.
It was, and it's not wrong.
Right. I mean,
it's not inaccurately depicted. It wasn't
exactly.
Wrong.
And so she was up against some very strong male personalities, and she still came out on top as, you know, one of the most recognizable figures in the world, except for if you work at Fox.
Why is that, Steve?
Well,
this is unbelievable.
Aretha Franklin dies on Thursday, I believe. And
might have been Wednesday.
Wednesday or Thursday, and Fox News, they put out the standard Aretha Franklin passes away, in memoriam, her birth date, and then in the picture they put up Patti LaBelle.
How do you fuck that up? All right, let me ask you this question from two angles. One, easy for me, 40-something white guy, to go, you know, well, they made a mistake. Okay, I don't feel that way. Do you think it was a deliberate thing, or do you think it was just bad?
Jim, here's the thing. Do you know how hard it is to get something on screen at a major television network?
It should be really hard.
Right? Do you know,
I don't. I've never done it, but
it's hard.
It should be.
It's hard. Okay? There are a number of checks and balances
there should be
that you have to go through before you can put something on screen. All right? I mean, like, it's not just like they just don't let Steve the intern throw up a graphic and then put it on with no one checking it.
It depends on at Fox. You're right. I mean, I remember. Hold on. Do you remember when the plane crashed in San Francisco, and it was a plane from China, and they put the names of the victims on there, and the names were Sum Ting Wong, Holy Fook, Wee Too Low, Bang Ding Out. That got on screen. Now that was a San Francisco news station.
What year was this?
2012.
Oh no. I don't remember that at all. Sorry.
Literally, the woman on the newscast reading Sum Ting Wong, Bang Ding Ao, Holy Fook. I mean, the fact checks should be there, but in that case, they were not because they were.
I have a friend listening to the show right now,
and the captain was Wee Too Low, by the way. See, so I'm just trying to say this is just like your thing with Congress. The people running these things, not that smart. Okay, but having said that. Was
that a local channel, or was
it was a San Francisco? It was a San Francisco-based local,
which is still
channel,
a major, right?
Yeah.
But, I mean, we're talking Fox News, and this was
national.
This is the the big. It wasn't like
someone
local.
chose the picture to put up there.
Exactly.
So I'm not dismissing what you're saying.
But then the worst part about it is their explanation was, well, the picture that we chose of Patti LaBelle was from an event that Aretha Franklin was at.
Oh my God, I did not hear that.
Oh yeah.
I don't mean I didn't hear it from you. Oh my goodness!
So I mean, at some point you have to wonder, like, okay.
So they put a picture of me. If I had gone to an Aretha Franklin concert, they said if Aretha Franklin died, here's a picture of Jim from Whiskey Congress. Well, he was there. I mean, he was in the same building as her.
That's like saying, that's like if I die, and they take a picture, they find a picture of you at the patio bar, right? And then they put it up, and like they put up a picture of you.
Actually, that would be better than what actually happened, because it's not like, at least we do a show together, just the two of us. It's not like Patti LaBelle.
Aretha Franklin and Patti LaBelle performed together.
Sure, and they were the same genre, the same, but
both black and okay,
okay,
it's probably a little closer.
Oh,
but
boy.
Either way, I just if you ask me, I think at this point it feels like, how can you sit there and just tell me that slipped through everybody's fingers? You got nobody on your staff, nobody who does the fact. No one is either old enough or they have a diverse enough palette to be able to identify that and say, even if it was, hey, I don't know who this is, right? Like I'm not gonna kill you if you don't know who Patti LaBelle is, but I am going to kill you over, I don't know who this is, but I'm pretty sure that's not the person.
Not Aretha Franklin.
That's not Aretha Franklin.
Yeah.
Right. So I need someone on my staff who can do that. And if you don't have that person on your staff, then I've got issues. But to me, it feels like at this point, Fox is almost just like, you know what, fuck it, I don't care. Fuck it. Just put up whoever. Like no one will notice.
And I think that
we're at they're basically trolling black people.
Yes,
right?
I think so.
You're gonna call us racist? Fine, we don't give a fuck. Here, just put whoever. Is she black? Good enough.
Put a Whitney Houston. She died too.
Right. I mean that's. I feel like that's where they're at. Right. I mean,
I will say this: Fox will not lose a viewer because of this.
Maybe
a viewer.
Maybe a few older black viewers who were really, just like they can't stand the liberal left with their nonsense and all that other stuff. But then this might be the thing that pushes them over the edge. But now they don't know what to watch, and they're watching Al Jazeera.
Yeah. Which
is actually a great news source, by the way. It's also just horribly depressing because they cover everything that's happening in the world in these war-torn areas.
Like the Middle East.
Kids dying and getting blown up and amputated, and you're like, Jesus Christ, what the fuck is going on?
I had a terrible travel day yesterday. I texted and emailed you about it, or texted and called you about it. I tried to get from Newark airport to Cleveland and didn't land like 2 a.m. And I thought to myself, I am so lucky compared to so much what's going on in the world. I mean, I'm annoyed, but I stayed in a positive frame of mind because the pilots were like, hey, sorry. I'm like, look, weather did it, not your fault. And I made it home.
When I traveled a lot, I'm glad you said that because I tried to do the same thing. I had flights delayed, I had flights delayed, flights canceled, stuck places. Hey, we're supposed to record, but I am in Nashville, or we're supposed to record, I'm in Raleigh, whatever. And I always try to say, listen, could be worse, right? Like I'm stuck, I can't.
Right.
So the trip that would take me 12 hours in a car, that's only going to take me 2 hours in a plane, I can't make. So, and I get to stay in the city where I'm going to be able to find food and beer and whiskey, and I'm going to sleep in a comfortable bed in a Hilton, and I'm an elite platinum member, and all that other shit.
Good for you.
Right. If you get into that frame of mind where you get shitty, like if
you think you've been wronged, it's a first world problem.
Right. It takes you down a dark road.
It does. But our flight, though, I got to tell you this real quick. So we flew out of Newark. They had to turn the plane over Raleigh, past Nashville, and back up to
because of the weather. Though,
yeah. So it was so funny because I always when I'm on a plane, I'm always trying to do like looking for landmarks. Like usually when I'm flying over Pittsburgh, I'm like, okay, I can recognize Pittsburgh from the sky. You don't do that?
Jim,
when is the last time I've
been awake for a flight?
You dream about flying over Pittsburgh. I've noticed it. All right. I don't want to get we've talked about doing a show about travel stuff, and we should do that because that will be fun. We both travel enough, have enough stories there. I agree with you, though. I think it was either an oversight that no one cared about. I can't get myself to the point of deliberately
it's either
conscientious
stupidity or willful ignorance. Either way,
it ain't good.
Right? Like they either did it on purpose to be dicks, or they just have nobody who knows the difference. And either way, that doesn't help their cause in saying, "Oh, well, we're
actually open-minded." Yeah.
Right.
All right, we got a lot to talk about, and we're pushing time.
We are tight on time.
So can we skip? All right. So the Catholic Church scandal.
We'll come back to it. Right, I think there's more to come about it. It's something that
it happened. Yeah. I'm Catholic. You went to a Catholic school. Schools. I've been a little less of a Catholic for the last about, I don't know, year now. Trump and the press. Trump has continued to bang with the press.
Well, the only thing with the press is, I think earlier this week you had over 300 newspaper outlets that had editorials on the, Donald Trump and him calling out the
alleged
press
fake news,
and attacking the press and saying the press is the enemy of the people.
Which is a terrifying statement, right?
Right. It's a terrifying statement. And, I guess you could look at it a couple ways. Was this good to have a unified front? Kind of, sort of. But at the same time, it also helps to feed Trump's narrative. Look at them all banding together. And he has his, the New York Times and the Washington Post, the ones that he hates. And then anyone who joined in on this, he's going to say that the New York Times and the Washington Post were the ringleaders, and any other newspaper that did this was associated with them. See, they are the ones that are all in collusion. Look at them attacking me because I call them out for what they are, furthering the divide between the people who are on Trump's side, who believe that the press is the enemy of the people, and then the people that believe the press are the ones who are exposing Trump for who and what he is. And what I'll say on this is that the press, the newspapers, the CNN, the media outlets, part of this is directly on them. Part of this is their direct fault because they aren't always accurate. They don't always do retractions the way that they should. They do. If they do a retraction, they do it at 3 a.m. if it's on TV, or they put it in the back page of a newspaper or a magazine and say, oh, by the way, we were wrong about this on this such and such date, blah, 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 whatever, right? They're not honest. They don't take the time to vet their stories. Their sources suck, right? There's a lack of objectivity across the board. It's not, here's the data, you figure it out yourself. It's, here's what you should think about what we're telling you part of the story because it fits a narrative that we want to put out, right? Whether it's Fox News or MSNBC, whether it's Breitbart
Young
or
Turks.
it's CNN or it's Young Turks or whatever. And there's so much bias and there's so much subjectivity out there. And and I don't care if we're talking about Rush Limbaugh or Mark Levin or any of these guys. Like the amount of bias and bullshit that they put out.
That's
across the board.
That's what we need to do next, Steve. We need to do a show where we simply watch the news and rate 10 stories a day on honesty with factual backup. And because, not that it'll work, because people don't want the truth anymore. They want their opinions validated, and it's so fucking frustrating. But when the President of the United States is calling the free press the enemy of the state, that is language.
Enemy of the people.
Enemy of the people. Which, all right, even worse. That is language that triggers.
And the problem is there are people who you have
a
citizens,
large number of people.
Right, you've got people because they did a poll, right? And there are people who work for the government and people, just regular citizens that are buying into this idea, who feel that the president should be able to point to a news network and say, you know what, I don't like you, you're done. Right? Basically, it's The Apprentice, and he should be able to point to CNN
you're fired.
and say, you're out of here.
You're fired.
Right? I mean, and it's crazy that we're at that point, right? And again, the free market should be able to dictate it, right? If a CNN continues to push out shitty stories and they put people like Don Lemon on TV over and over and over again, listen, I'm not a fan of Don Lemon. I think the guy's a fucking tool. Right, I mean, he's a hack.
I like him because he got drunk on New Year's.
Right. Actually, I thought that was great. I mean, watching that live,
hammered.
I watched that live. I was
so
with
much.
a bunch of friends, and they had all passed out, and I'm the only one. I'm sitting there on New Year's Eve, just drinking by myself. Like, someone has got to wake the fuck up and watch this with me, right? Because in the morning, I'm gonna sound like a crazy drunk idiot, right? But I mean, this dude is literally getting his ear pierced. He's literally getting his ear pierced live on television, drinking tequila, complaining about his gay love life. Like, I can't make this up. Someone, wake up. I almost went and woke up my 2-year-old daughter at the time. Like, Eden, get into this.
I need your help on this. All right. So there's
Back
three.
me up, kid.
There's two things that you brought to my attention that I did not know about in detail. I knew a little bit about. One of them is what's going on with the fires in California and Arizona. and the fact that inmates are being used to fight them.
So let's talk about this. And so,
you need to educate me on this. I don't know much.
So, and I apologize, our show's going to run a little bit long because of this.
Don't apologize.
So in California, also in Arizona, and there may be other states, but I know specifically about California and Arizona. California uses inmates to fight fires, right? So about 40% of the people fighting the fires in California right now, you've got the car fire that's burning, that's causing just horrible damage, whether it's forest or homes and property, and even the reality is even the marijuana industry is being hit by this.
Right.
But 40% of the people fighting the fires are inmates, and they're being paid, and some of them are even juveniles, right? They're under the age of 18 that are in these fires. One of the people that died, she was a juvenile and she was a female, right? I mean, she died fighting fires as an inmate for the state of California.
I assume it's a voluntary program. I'm hoping it is. I don't know. A voluntary program for an inmate is not a traditional voluntary program.
Yeah, I don't know if that's...
I'm just saying they're not being forced to do this, but they're being given a chance to do something that...
I don't want to get into the logistics of that because you can... Listen, we're talking about the California state prison system.
Fair.
And
or unfair.
Right. I mean, what they say and what they put out there, it's completely voluntary. And,
I'm stuck in Folsom Prison.
Right. I don't want to get into that. I never thought I got to sing
Johnny Cash on the show, so I stuck that in there. Sorry, go ahead.
But these inmates are fighting fires for the state of California for $1.25 an hour. Okay, that's what they're being paid, and essentially that buys them ho-hos and boxed mac and cheese from terms of commissary.
Yeah, the commissary, right?
When they get back to their cells. Once they're released, they serve their term. You would think that if you fight a major forest fire in the state of California, where fires are, all fires are dangerous, but I mean, these are common and they are dangerous.
Getting way more common.
Right.
I won't go environmental guy on you because
okay, but the point is that listen, you're training these people. They have to have, they gain a certain level of experience. When they are out of prison and no longer serving their time, they are not eligible to actually join a fire department.
All right. So when you say not eligible, you mean
they can't fight fires for a living
because are felons or whatever.
They have a criminal record.
Oh, that's fucking horrible. Okay,
so you can do it for you can
do it as a $1.25 an hour inmate. So it's basically like you can hammer out license plates as an inmate, but once you come out, a license plate factory can't hire you because you're deemed unworthy of a job. Yep. That is disgusting.
Right, and to me, that's the part of prison reform that we've got to figure out. Right, you cannot sit here and say, all right, you got to get your life together, except for we're completely okay with no one hiring you because you have a criminal record, and if they do hire you, we're going to hit them with higher insurance premiums. So even if they want to, they'll have to think twice, 3 times, 4 times about hiring you, and they probably won't because we will make it financially. We will make it financially prohibitive for them to actually hire you if they do. Right? I mean,
this is California, right?
And this is
the state that people say, "Oh, liberal California,
the liberals in the sanctuary cities."
Where the fuck are the liberals now?
Right.
Where are they defending the rights of people who are trying to stop your state from burning to the fucking ground?
Right. I mean, that's the thing. It's just like, listen, one of the best things that you can do to rehabilitate a criminal.
Give them a job.
Right, other than a pedophile, right? And, your sexual weirdos.
Easy.
Right. Pot and kettle.
Pot and kettle are now lecturing you.
I wish there was a forum where I could explain what I was looking at last night.
No, don't. Don't. Oh, God.
I got into a weird place.
Show took a turn.
Weird place.
But so what's the difference? What's the difference in Arizona?
So in Arizona,
a very conservative state, a crazy conservative state.
They have created a fund. I think it's $1.5 million that will basically create a fire department for, so Arizona has the same rule, right? If you're a
convicted,
inmate,
whatever, you can't.
If you're an inmate, one of the things you can do is fight fires, right? Instead of working in the kitchen, you go and fight fires or whatever. So, but in Arizona, what they've done is they've set up a fund that once you come out, then it helps to train, like further train and then employ convicted felons who fought fires as inmates, and then it trains them to actually be firefighters once they come out of prison. And so you have a blueprint on how this could work. Could it work everywhere? I mean, everywhere's got fires, and so maybe but a place like Ohio, we don't need a program.
We don't have a countryside on fire. California,
right? I mean, California, Arizona, those places.
Steve, the numbers are crazy. I've heard stories like a football field every 3 seconds was burning in the car fire.
It's awful.
Think about that.
Yes.
And again, I'm an environmental nut guy. And I'm not. And you're not.
Right.
But how can you not? So today I would.
One of the biggest reasons why, no matter how much you paid me, you could never get me to move to California. Between the earthquakes, the fires, the mudslides, you just couldn't get and the cost.
I love California.
I love to visit. I will never live there.
I spent a straight 8 months there with weekends home every third week. Loved it. I understand why people love California.
Me too.
Nothing that you said is wrong.
Listen, I've lived there.
Yeah, you did too.
Right.
Right.
I mean, I
lived in Hollywood for crying out loud.
Right. I mean, I lived there, but you could still never convince me to live there any longer than I did.
Truthfully, I probably feel the same way. If you told me you can live anywhere, I would live somewhere else and visit California.
Right. I mean, I couldn't
honestly. I probably
LeBron went to L.A. to play for the Lakers, and I will tell you, I've agreed with every move that LeBron has made to this point. Except for that one, because I just wouldn't want to live in LA. And I get it, the bright lights, Hollywood, but just in this day and age with the internet and his ability to get anywhere whenever he needs to be, there's no way you could convince me to live in LA. I don't care if I could have a house in Brattonall. Like everything burns there. Right? I mean, all right. The motherfuckers run out of water. They legitimately run out of water.
Yes. Yeah. Well. Yes, they do. I don't know if you remember my attempt to talk to the people out there about their environmental issues, and it didn't go well. All right, let's jump forward. The point is that conservative Arizona is doing a whole lot better here at plans going forward to dealing with inmates than liberal California.
I don't have
by the way, the fucking state's on fire. Put the fucking fire out and get it right.
I don't have a problem with all hands on deck using the prisoners to fight the fires, right?
Right.
Now, we could talk about cheap labor and we could talk about slavery and everything else. But this is something, and the reason why I don't mind it is
immigrant labor, by the way.
Right. But here's the reason why I don't mind it. If they're learning from this, it's dangerous. Fuck yes, it's dangerous. It's fire. I hate fire. The movie Backdraft literally ruined my life with fire, right?
That movie sucked.
Dude, that movie terrified me. That movie terrified me.
We won't even go down this. Let's not do that.
But to this day, Robert De Niro fucking sitting there talking about fire. It's alive and it breathes and all that other shit ruined my life.
I'm gonna take fire by the balls.
All that being said, if this gives these guys a skill that they can then turn around and use, which they should be able to, right? I mean, they can literally walk up to a fire department and say, "Listen, hey, the worst thing that you guys do is fight forest fires. I did it for 3 months." Right,
which is longer, the worst fire or the second
which is
worst
longer,
fire in history.
Which is 3 times longer than any of your rookie guys coming in. Then that should be a leg up, and that should be a reason to get these guys hired.
Yes,
and then you want to talk about recidivism, like how do we reduce the rate of recidivism? You put a guy, you pay him decent, and then you put him in a fucking forest fire for 4 months out of the year. There's good chances he's probably not going to commit the same crime again.
Agreed. Dude, we could do this for hours. And
I agree.
And unfortunately, those fires will still be there next week.
Yeah, so right. I mean, we can move on. I wanted to get that out there.
Well done. I appreciate it. I completely agree with you. So you also brought to my attention some details about the death of a football player in Maryland, and you have some personal insights into this.
So, listen, I wasn't there, and this is a terrible story for me as a football player, that played on the collegiate level. The coach, DJ Durkin, he's a Northeast Ohio guy.
You know his reputation. You don't know him personally, right?
Right. I don't know him personally, but I mean he's a hard-nosed coach. He's not quite a Bo Pelini, but he's cut from that same mold, right? I mean, again,
a lot of people don't know what that means, but that means
Bo Pelini is just an in-your-face, I'm the alpha dog. I'm going to yell and scream and curse. And when I yell, I'm going to do it real loud and spit in your face and get right up in you. And I'm the top dog and, and all that. And it's all because I love you.
Twice, by the way.
Right. Okay. But I mean, he's just, it's all, he's one of those guys who'll scream and yell at the top of his lungs, belittle his players, call them names, talk about their mom, all that sort of shit. And, do it all in the name of love. And then that'll produce tougher players, and then they'll win more.
I'm doing this for you,
right? And Durkin is not quite as bad as Pelini, but he's that same type of guy. And it may have cost him his career here,
and may have cost a kid his life.
It may have cost a kid his life, and it may have cost him his career. I don't know the exact circumstances, but there's no reason in 2018 a kid should die on the practice field.
From heat exhaustion.
From heat exhaustion. We know too much. These programs, you're at Maryland, it's a Big Ten school. There's plenty of money there. There's plenty of science and research to tell you keep these kids hydrated. You take them indoors if it's too hot. Like this whole idea of I'm going to make you practice outside, no water, in the sun to make you tougher. We know that doesn't work. Right, it's
counterproductive,
work. Listen,
and it leads
Nick
to
Saban is the biggest hard ass guy that you're gonna fucking come across, and he knows enough to pay attention to the science and knows when to pull his guys indoors. He knows how to keep them hydrated. He knows how to manage them so that they don't end up, dead.
Yes,
I mean, like I was gonna say injured, but I mean,
no, this kid died.
Right, a kid fucking died.
Now, was there any? I don't know the story. Was there any attempt to cover up his actions? Because I don't know the details.
No, I don't. Okay. I mean, there's no way that you really could. I mean, with the number of kids. I mean, you're talking about college kids on a football team. They were open and honest about what happened. I mean, the kid, drops on the field, and then, they do go through the necessary medical processes and things like that. But I mean, this is a referendum on the style of coaching of, all hell and fire and brimstone and, I'm just going to drive you into the ground and it's my way or the highway, that whole thing. Right.
Which was the way of doing things for years, and it was wrong. One thing that needs to get fixed in our country fast, in the world in general, is just because it used to be okay doesn't mean it's okay.
Right.
Slavery used to be okay legally. It ain't okay.
Never was good.
And so all these, you see here, you get mad at me about this. All these cocksuckers out there saying, well, back in the day, I used to be able to, call black guys whatever I wanted, and no one said anything, and now it's not fair. Fuck off.
Well, listen,
it was never right.
And so I agree with you. And so I played for a number of coaches who were that type. Scream, yell, call you names, curse at you, spit in your face, hit you with the whistle, kick you, punch you, all that sort of shit. Couldn't stand those guys. Can't stand them to this day. One of those guys, he was one of our high school coaches. He reached out to me on Facebook and wanted to friend me. I accepted it for a while, and then I sent him a message like, hey, you know what, by the way, your coaching style, you were a complete piece of shit. You were a dick. You were abusive to the point where it was unnecessary. You weren't a good coach. You weren't a good example. We're not friends. I don't like you. You didn't help me as a player. You made me worse. So I'm going to go ahead and unfriend you and have a nice life.
That must have felt wonderful.
It wasn't even about feeling wonderful.
All right, so let me switch it to corporate world nerd engineer guy.
Well, no, I don't want to do that because this is about football.
Oh, sorry, everything's about football.
But I mean,
come on.
No, I mean, I'm just saying because with football,
but
football is different because of what is expected, what you're expected to do, right? You are expected to do things. You're expected to do things with your brain and calculate and math and all that other shit. I'm expected to run out full speed with my body and stop another person that's running full speed at me, or vice versa, or whatever it is, right? Like, it's very physical. It's very brutish. There's nothing cerebral about it as much as they want to throw the term around when they talk about quarterbacks, right? It's a gut instinct, testosterone-driven sort of thing, and I love it. But there's ways to coach it. There's ways to pull out effectiveness in it without some of the shit that some of these guys did. And you could argue that some of that mentality is why we have some of these people. We have the issues that we have with concussions, the issues that we have with these bad attitudes and these bad actors in football, because you had these coaches that were so negative and they bred this attitude of just
culture, I think,
win at all costs, and I don't care if you have to cut off your finger, and I don't care if you're tired or sick or dying, you're gonna fucking play, and if you don't play, then you're a fucking pussy, and if you're gonna spend time with your girlfriend, then you're a piece of shit, and I don't care if your mother is having a cookout, if you don't come, then you're not a part of the team, all this other shit. They fill your head with this shit, and then we can't figure out why guys come out of football half-whacked. And there's enough of us who came out and figured out that, all right, maybe this wasn't the way. But I know plenty of guys who just think that, that all makes perfect sense, and why would you question it?
There are aspects of that I would challenge on a normal day, but we've got time limitations and other things to talk about. You mentioned in the early segment.
Wait, you're challenging it because
I
won't let you compare engineering to football?
No, corporate life and bullying and
corporate life. Yeah, I fully agree because I've experienced both. But I'm just saying, there's a difference.
Obviously,
the physical
obviously, the fact
aspect.
you're banging a head with another head. I agreed. But again, we would talk for hours about this, and probably we'll do it in a bar while throwing down Jameson and Miller Lite sometime soon. But so in the beginning of the segment, we talked about, you accused me of having a terrible analysis about a good idea regarding Carl Nassib, the Cleveland Browns defensive end, giving financial advice. And I want to hit that. And we also haven't done Come At Me, Bro in a while. And I've got one for you, and you got one for me.
Okay.
So here's So first of all,
go ahead.
Carl Nassib is a defensive end for the Browns.
Yep.
And on the show Hard Knocks, he did a segment where he talked to guys about putting money away, and if you put money away for this amount of time at this percentage, you will get this much over the years. That's great. I have no problem with that. I admire that. My beef with it is he made it sound like if you put money in the bank, you'll get 10% on the dollar, and you get essentially 0.5% in today's world. So the idea that you can save money and it will double in 10 years is no longer true. He's using 1980s mentality economics to encourage guys to save money. Now, we had a few drinks before the show.
Jim,
all right, here we go.
Carl Nassib is fucking 24, 25 years old.
All right.
Okay.
How the fuck does he think you get 10% on interest?
I don't know. I don't know, and I don't necessarily care. Right? And who knows? Maybe he's saying put it in a hedge fund. Or maybe he's saying put it in some
sort of Jim from Whiskey Congress Financials. I will tell you how you get 10%. But
okay. All right. Whatever. But the kid's saying save
put
your money
away. Yes.
Put money away and save it. And listen, for the guys that he's talking to, he's not saying give it to my guy who can help you or whatever, right? Which has gotten a lot of guys in trouble. He's saying
absolutely true.
Literally, just go put the shit in the bank.
Yes,
and
agreed.
Put it in a CD or whatever, and don't touch it.
Leave
it
your career
alone.
ain't gonna last forever.
But the point, what he's preaching is, his main point was, don't go out and buy
3 Lamborghinis and
stop interrupting me. Don't interrupt me again in the next fucking 5 minutes. I'm serious.
All right, 5 minutes. I'll give you 5 minutes.
Don't go out and buy a $50,000 Rolex if you are a fucking 4th round draft pick. Don't go out and buy Rolls Royce, Wrath if you are a fucking 3rd round draft pick, and it's a badass car. Let me tell you,
don't do that.
If I had the money, like I saw your face.
Don't tell me not to
interrupt
you.
What's that? Well, it's a badass car that most of the Browns can't afford, except for like 7 people. But don't go out and blow your money on at $10,000 and $20,000 at a time. In your first 2 years in the league, put it away and save it. Now, if his math was off about how much they can save, okay, fine. But mind you, the kid's sitting in his workout clothes in a football meeting, about to go to practice or about to go into a meeting or whatever, and the whole point of it is whether you gain 2% or 10%, but with the amount of money that these guys can put away and save, whether it's 2% or 10%, it's all a hell of a lot more than if they blow it on a $20,000 chain.
100% agree.
Right? And so,
other than part of me not talking.
Right? I mean, so criticizing him because
I just don't want.
And I don't even know. We don't know. he may have just picked a number out of his ass.
He did.
And okay, fine. But to those guys in there, the entire concept was new.
Steve, all right.
Okay, the entire concept was new. And so maybe he picked it out. Maybe he said 10% because 10 is better than 2. And for some of these guys, it's probably better to say 10 than 2 because they may not be able to process, well, if you say 2%, well, fuck 2%, man. I'm just going to buy the chain and get the pussy.
All right. Oddly, I think we're basically in agreement on the fundamentals.
Right,
I just don't like the idea. You're coming at me for nitpicking.
Yes,
you're
nitpicking his math. It's not like he was sitting there looking at a book on economics and accounting, and he's
not Warren Buffett.
Right, he's not Warren Buffett. Right, he's not Warren Buffett, or he's not the current economic advisor to the United States. Which
you are 100% Larry fucking Kudlow. Fuck's sake! All right, but
that may have been even too much insight. Even for
it probably
us.
Was. Carl Nassib was doing a good thing. I won't argue that.
And he wasn't wrong other than the amount of money that they can make.
And how he...
But the whole point is that they can make more money if they save it than if they spend it. That's true.
Right.
If these guys do it, right? Here's the thing. Let's say they do it, right? And everybody in that room did exactly what he says to do. You know what the worst thing that happens is? From based off of your shit... Right?
They're
going to come back to him and say, well, I put away the $1 million you told me over the last 10 years, and I was supposed to make, $2.8 million, and I only made $1.8 million. Carl, I'm a little bit perturbed with you. Right? Like, I mean, come on, Jim. What the fuck? Are you seriously doing this?
First of all, I want to say that if anyone could witness the neck movements that I had to watch when he said that, it would be hilarious.
Okay, well, I've got a 20-inch fucking neck.
You do have a big neck.
My neck movements are limited.
Second of all, you are right. You're absolutely right about that. You know what? This
the worst thing to come out of it is that they all take his advice and then they're pissed that they didn't get a 10% return.
They're pissed that they're set for the rest of their life.
Like they go back and they watch Hard Knocks and they're just like, I thought I was supposed to make 10% off of this and I only made 2%. God damn it. Like, come on.
You know what? I stand by what I said that Carl Nassib was
his
wrong.
Math was wrong.
His math was fucked up.
All right.
His math wasn't fucked up. His depiction of what happens was fucked up. But his advice was rock solid.
The dude's not a fucking accountant. He's a goddamn defensive end.
All right. You're right. I agree. So don't get your advice from defensive ends, but listen to what he said because it was good advice in the general thing. Let's do come at me, bro. And then this... I agree with you that so many guys who've made millions and millions of dollars in sports.
They did an ESPN 30 for 30 on it.
Broke. It was called Broke. Warren Saps was the most powerful and depressing one, right? He was ridiculously wealthy, and a lot of these guys end up with
even got worse because he got fired.
Mamas. Yeah,
he got fired from the fucking
banging
NFL
a prostitute and whatever. All right. So
do that shit where it's legal, bro.
Right.
Just hop on a plane and go to Vegas.
Away.
Oh my god.
Okay.
Oh my god.
Okay. All right.
It's like it's like no one listens to me.
Steve's advice: go to Vegas, do crazy shit,
do what I do. Home. Just do what I do. Just do what I do.
I love this shit. Oh my god, Steve, I love you, man. I have genuinely missed you. This has been great. And now we have to come at me, bro. I've got one for you. You got one for me.
Yeah.
Okay. You want to go first? Or you want me to go first?
I want to go first.
Go.
Youngstown's Pizza is better than fucking Buffalo Pizza. Go fuck yourself.
Fuck you. Youngstown Pizza is garbage.
Better than Buffalo Pizza. Get the fuck out of here. Your shit is garbage. Fuck you.
Okay, we will.
Well, it's because of your water. Because of your shitty water. No, we got shitty water too, bro.
No,
we got shitty water too.
Buffalo Pizza, best in the country.
Get out of here.
I got one for you.
You don't know.
Mine's a bit different. I do know because you put your ingredients under the cheese. You're hiding shit. Your ingredients are like buried criminals. Which is what you all do out there. I know how Youngstown goes.
Yeah.
No denial there. No denial.
Fine. Still, our soil is still wonderful.
Polly Walnuts is buried under your fucking pizza at Youngstown.
Look how red our tomatoes are.
They are wonderful. So are mine, by the way, and I'm in Cleveland. Okay, we won't go there.
Still in Northeast Ohio, buddy.
We won't go there. All right, so I will throw my come at me, bro, at you. This has been totally different.
Throw it, bitch.
I was listening to Breitbart the other day, and Breitbart was accusing CNN and MSNBC of bringing race up as a means to divide our country. Mm-hmm. and they were like, race is only an issue because CNN and MSNBC are bringing it up, and they're trying to divide us beyond race. How do you respond to that? Did you hear it? It was a 6 p.m.
So
thing.
I know exactly what you're talking about. One, they're right.
Okay.
They're absolutely right. CNN, MSNBC, left-wing media, Democrats, progressives, liberals, they use race all the time. They say they're doing it to fight, to bring people together, but in reality, it serves as much to divide us as anything. They go into they look at these situations, and the worst part about it is they don't acknowledge the things that have legitimate racial implications, right? The way the environmental laws are
enforced or
not enforced,
lead poisoning, etc.
Those sort of things, like they don't pay attention to any of that. They take situations that are ambiguous. They take situations where it may not be race, and then they exploit it and they use it. But that being said, Breitbart is no better. They do the same shit, but they do it in a different way. They use a different tactic, right? Breitbart won't come out and say that they don't like black people, or they want black people to fail, or whatever, or that they don't agree with anyone that's black, that's liberal, right? But what they will do is on their Twitter feed or on their site, if a black person does anything wrong, literally a black person shoplifts from a Kmart in Gary, Indiana, they will put it on their Twitter site, right? And they will give it a nice flamboyant headline, right? And then they will just let their listeners and their followers do what they do, right? I mean, or you'll say, oh, well, that's just them reporting the news. One, a fight at a Walmart, why is that news for a Breitbart? Right?
It's not a national issue.
Right, like why that's not news for anybody, right? A fight at a fucking Walmart, right? I mean, and you want to talk about here's my thing that I figured solves a lot of things. Let's just shut down Walmart. I go there and my blood pressure goes up and I leave and I feel like I need to take a shower. I hate the fucking store, right? I hate the store. I don't
brings out the worst in society.
It literally, like, you go there and you're just
so
like,
cheap though.
Who is shop? Like, you look around at the people shop, and you're just like, okay.
It does draw
whether I mean just where we're at locally,
American humanity. Yes.
You go to the Walmart in Steelyard. You go to the Walmart out in Elyria. It's not in
Cleveland stuff,
but if you go west
on Brook Park Road,
way out there, and you go, and
I think it's technically North Olmsted, but
even that one,
Cleveland
like
stuff.
All of them, it's just like Jesus.
We have a international audience. They don't know these things, Steve.
I know, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying when you're talking locally,
all right.
But it just get rid of Walmart. You solve a lot of problems. But for Breitbart, but here's my thing about Breitbart. You know how people talk about Breitbart being a racist, hateful organization. And the funny thing about them is this is how they refute it. People say that we're racist. People say that we don't like black people. And we are an unabridged supporter of Israel. And we have a number of Jewish people on staff. And how they could call us racist and white supremacists is beyond us. Well,
right.
Okay, well, pause. We didn't say you were anti-Semitic. We said you're a racist, right? Which means that, a majority of the people who work for you are white. You have 3 employees that are not white. You've got your Hollywood reporter, who's a black guy. I think you have an Asian girl, and you have maybe another black girl. And then they had a Middle Eastern guy, and I don't know what happened to him. I don't know if he was fired or let go or whatever.
They killed him.
They did not kill him.
They might have. You can't prove that he didn't go to Snopes.com and find out.
Okay.
If there was
but my point is, they talk about them not being racist, and their whole thing their whole response is how could we be racist when we support Israel, right? Like, and then that's literally like every time they say it, they say we're not racist, we support Israel, right? And it's just like. Okay, that's not necessarily an answer, right? Like you can.
Steve is wrong about pizza from Youngstown, but the
Not even close.
No,
You're too drunk to even make that connection.
Fair enough. You're right. I was going to fail there.
All right.
Should we shut it down?
Yeah, let's shut it down. It's good to see you face
Brother,
to face.
I miss you. I missed you.
Glad you. Don't make it weird.
All right.
Glad you made it in safe. You'll be on a plane again on Monday, right?
Yeah, Monday I'm flying back.
All right, but then you'll be back the following weekend, so we'll get it done. I got a golf outing next week,
which is something I wish I could film.
I need to go.
Because you have the physique of a golfer.
Fuck you.
On that note,
dude, my clubs hate you for that. My driver literally has dents in it.
I hope your driver is the person that gets in a car and
dude, I may have to go buy a new driver before.
You know what? I can lend you a good one.
Can you?
Yeah. Well, let's step into the garage. Right. I'll show you what we can do there.
We should probably end the show
at Whiskey Congress.
All social media platforms.
Thank you very much. Good to see you, man. I genuinely missed you. We are done.